Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm the Flamehead97 and I'm here for my video of albums from 2013 turning 10 years old in 2023. I will actually have a part 2 video out to this as well because there's so many good albums from 2013 that will be turning 10 years old this year. So this video will be the first part of 2 videos. I just want to get that clear out to you guys. So with that being said, let's go and get started with this video. So kicking off the list is going to be Notes from the Underground by Hollywood Undead. And honestly, I don't think this is one of the band's best albums, but I still think it's a pretty average album from everything I've heard from it, because there were probably like 3 or 4 songs on the album that I didn't mind, but the rest of the album I just didn't really care for much of, honestly, but I still don't think it's a bad album. It's just not as good as some of their other albums that they've released before it, and even some albums after it, but I still think it's a solid album, or average for what it is. So, Notes from the Underground, I'd put it on here because there were a few or so songs that I didn't mind on the album. So next is going to be Release to Panic by the band Red. Now, this is one of my least favorite albums from this band. They're a really good band though, but this is one of my least favorites from them. Probably like my second least favorite, right behind their 2017 album Gone. But yeah, this album had some decency to it though. Like the song So Far Away, that's my favorite song on the album. The title track was pretty good, and some others, but it's still not one of their best albums. But I don't think it's a horrible album though. It could have been a better album, but I still think Release to Panic was an alright album for what it is, just not one of their best. So next is going to be Temper Temper by Bullet for My Valentine. There's a lot of critics who just bash this album and hate on it, but I don't even think it's a bad album. Sure, it's not my favorite from Bullet for My Valentine, but I still think the album is actually really good. The album just gets way too much hate. I still don't understand the reason behind that, because I think it's a good album. Sure, it's not as good as Screaming Fire or Fever or even Venom or Poison, but I still think Temper Temper is a good album. It doesn't deserve the hate that it gets, and this is an album that I will always come to the defense to, because critics just bash this album and I just don't get it, because it's not a bad album whatsoever. So I had to put it on here. Next is What About Now by the band Bon Jovi. These guys are legends. I'm a big fan of Bon Jovi. Yes, I don't know every single song on this album, but I've heard maybe 2 or 3 songs on it before, and I thought it was a pretty solid album, so for that reason, I'll put it in this list. So next is going to be The 2020 Experience by Justin Timberlake. Now, Justin Timberlake ended up releasing 2 albums in 2013, The 2020 Experience, and then The 2020 Experience 2 of 2, but for this video, I'm having the original album. So, 2020 Experience was a good album, had songs like Mirrors, Suit and Tie featuring Jay-Z, and some other pretty good songs. So, 2020 Experience, definitely a good album, and I think I did a review of it on the channel before, so pretty cool. So, 2020 Experience by Justin Timberlake, definitely had to make the list. Good album. Next is I Am Not a Human Being 2 by Lil Wayne. I had to put this on here because I thought it was a good album. Yes, it's true, this is more where he started to go downhill with his career, but I still thought this album had some really good songs, like No Worries, Trippy featuring Juicy J. Even had some deluxe songs that were really good, like My Homie Still featuring Big Sean, and some others. So, this album I don't think it's bad, but I would agree when people say it's where he started to go downhill with his music. So, regardless, I still think it's a good album though. So I had to put it on here. Next is going to be Native by OneRepublic. OneRepublic is a pretty good band. I mean, I don't listen to them all the time, but I still think Native had some good songs like Counting Stars. It's probably my favorite song on the album. That's definitely a really great song. Had some other good songs too, though, but that'll always be my favorite song on the album, Counting Stars. It's a really good song. So, Native, I don't remember all the song names that I know on this album, but Counting Stars was definitely one that I liked though. Yes, there's other songs that I know from this album. I just don't remember the song names because it's been a long time since I've listened to anything from this album and even this band in general. But I don't think they're a bad band though, so Native makes this list. Next is going to be Blackout the Sun by Sevendust. I had to put this on here because Sevendust is definitely a very underrated and overlooked band in my opinion. I think they're a good band. So, Sevendust's Blackout the Sun, I had to put it on here because it's a pretty good album from everything that I've heard from it. So, Blackout the Sun by Sevendust, definitely had to put it on here. Next is Sempiternal by Bring Me the Horizon. And I think this is a really good album. Yes, it's not as heavy or brutal as their first few albums, but I still think it's a good album. It's basically where they went more post-hardcore instead of deathcore, but I still don't mind this album because it's a good album. So, Sempiternal, I definitely included on here because I think it's one of Bring Me the Horizon's strongest albums and one of their best albums as well. So, Sempiternal definitely makes this list. Good album. Next is going to be Disarm the Decent by Killswitch Engage. This was their return album for original lead vocalist Jesse Leach. And damn, this was definitely a great return for Jesse. Ever since his return, this band's been on fire. Yeah, man, Disarm the Decent, it's not in my top 3 Killswitch Engage albums, but it definitely is in my top 5. I probably have it like ranked 4th, but yeah, this album's great. Great return for Jesse. He shows that he still can do these screams and just put in so much emotion and effort into his singing and screams and all that. So, definitely a great return album for Jesse and Killswitch as well. So, Disarm the Decent, I love this album. It's one of my favorites from these guys. Definitely would be in my top 5, as I said. Just a really good album. No bad songs whatsoever. So next is going to be Paramore and their self-titled album. Really enjoyed this album. It's my second favorite album, right behind their album Riot. I really enjoy this self-titled album by Paramore. I think it's one of their best, and I would say it was their last good album because I didn't care for their 2017 album. I just think it's their worst album ever, in my opinion. But yeah, the self-titled album was great, really good album. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would when I first heard the album in full. So yeah, I love this self-titled album. So many great songs. Ain't It Fun? And many other great songs. I'm bad at song names because I listen to so much music. But Paramore's self-titled album is definitely amazing. And it definitely makes this list. Definitely a good album. So next is going to be the self-titled album by the band Device, which was a side project from David Draiman of Disturbed. This is the band's only not only just their debut album, but it's their only studio album that they ever released because they were a short-lived band. So, self-titled album from Device. I thought it was really good. Definitely a good side project for David Draiman of Disturbed. I wish this band could have carried on, but it is what it is because I do understand David has to put more focused onto his main band, Disturbed, but Device self-titled album was actually really good, so I had to put that album on the list. Next is going to be The Life and Times of Johnny Valiant by the rapper Ritz. Great rapper, discovered Ritz around 2017 or 2018. Been a big fan of him ever since. This is Ritz's debut studio album. Definitely really good debut for a newer rapper at the time. Yeah, man, For Real was a dope song. Fuck Swag was dope. Sober featuring Sugar Free was dope. Of course, Switch Lanes with Mike Posner. So many good songs, man, on this album from Ritz. Definitely one of his best albums. Probably my second favorite, right behind his 2014 album Next to Nothing. But Life and Times of Johnny Valiant, definitely a great and strong debut album for a newer rapper at that time. So, definitely recommend this album. Definitely a good one. Next is Ungrateful by Escape to Fate. I really enjoyed the title track a lot off this album. Had some other good songs too, though, but the title track is definitely top tier as a favorite for me off of this album, because I really enjoy that song. But it was definitely a good album, though, overall, so I had to put it on here. Next is Halo of Blood by Children of Bodom. R.I.P. Alexi, he passed away way too soon, back in like late 2020. Definitely rest in paradise to him. Halo of Blood was definitely a really good album. Definitely a great band. One of the best mellow death bands of all time. So, Halo of Blood, definitely a really good album from these guys. Yes, I don't know every song on it, but I still think it's a good album, so for that reason, I'm including it on the video. So, Halo of Blood by Children of Bodom. Great stuff. So, continuing on with the list, guys, there's going to be 13 by Black Sabbath. This was their last studio album that they ever released before their official retirement. So, I thought it was a pretty good album. I mean, I'm not too familiar with everything on it, once again, but I still think it's a good album, so I want to include it on here because I like Black Sabbath. They're one of the best metal bands of all time. Definitely legends. So this was definitely a good final album for these guys. So next is going to be Rescue and Restore by the band August Burns Red. Good album. August Burns Red, one of my favorite Christian metalcore bands of all time. And just one of the best metalcore bands in general. So this album definitely makes the list. It had some really good songs on it. So for that reason, again, I'm including it on here. So Rescue and Restore by August Burns Red definitely makes the list. Good album. Next is going to be Rise by Skillet. The last good album from these guys, because after that they sold out to arena rock music and been doing that ever since. But thankfully with this album you still had the symphonic metal and all that like they did with the earlier material, which is actually what I miss in their current stuff, But Rise was definitely a good album. The title track was great. Salvation was great. Fire and Fury, amazing song there. American Noise was great. So, yeah, Rise is definitely a good album. Critics seem to hate on this album, but I love this album personally. It's a great album. I think it's one of their best albums. So, Rise by Skillet definitely makes the list. Amazing album. Next is going to be Stars Dance by Selena Gomez. This was her debut solo studio album, because she used to be part of a group with The Scene, known as Selena Gomez and The Scene, but they ended up breaking up in like the early 2010s, and shortly afterwards she released her debut solo studio album Stars Dance in 2013. So, had some good songs like Come and Get It was great, Slow Down was good, Birthday was good, and some other really good songs. So Stars Dance, I definitely had to put it on here because I'm a big fan of Selena Gomez's music. So Stars Dance, definitely a good album. Next is going to be Volume 1 from Five Finger Death Punch. These guys also released 2 albums that year. but for this video, I'll just be including Volume 1. Yes, it's true, I did outgrow Five Finger Death Punch. I know I always say that when I mention these guys, but I'm just being honest. The music got stale and old to me very quickly, but I think Volume 1 was definitely a good album. Critics may not like it, but I like it because I think it's a good album. It's definitely better than the shit you get from them nowadays, that's for damn sure. I'll admit that. Even as someone that's basically a former fan of the group. But Volume 1, definitely a good album. Lift Me Up was a great song. Dot Your Eyes was awesome. Wrong Side of Heaven was a great song. So, definitely had a lot of good songs, no matter what the critics say. Even as a former fan, I admit I like this album, so for that, I'm putting it on here, even as a former fan of the band. Next is me, Hollow Bodies by Bless the Fall. These guys were like another Christian metalcore band, I think. Hollow Bodies was definitely a good album. Title track was great. They even had a song on here with the frontman from August Burns Red on this album. That was an awesome song. Some other good songs too. So Hollow Bodies was definitely one of Bless the Fall's best albums in my opinion. So definitely to make it on here. Another great metalcore album. Next is going to be Hail to the King by Avenged Sevenfold. Once again, another album that critics like to overhate on. Yes, it's not one of their best albums, but I still like Hail to the King. It's a great song. Title track is one of their best songs in general. Amazing title track. Really enjoy it. Great song. This Means War was good. Definitely a hated song, but I definitely like it. Many people say it's a ripoff of Sad But True by Metallica, which I could definitely understand, but I still don't understand the hate for the song, though, because it's definitely a good one. Crimson Day was a great song. Coming Home was good. Planets was good. Acid Rain was good. And many other good songs. So this album definitely don't deserve any of the hate that it gets. Even though it's not one of their best, but it's still definitely a good album. So I'm putting it on here. So last for this list is going to be Yours Truly by Ariana Grande. This is her debut studio album. Definitely an amazing album. One of my favorite debut albums of all time. I definitely love this album. It's my second favorite Ariana Grande album, right behind her 2016 release, Dangerous Woman. I really love Yours Truly. It's an amazing album. I'll always love this album. And it's just crazy to think it'd be 10 years old this year in 2023, because I remember when I first discovered her music back in like 2014, right before she was releasing her second album, My Everything. So, yeah, funny how time goes by so fast, sure, but this album is amazing. I really love it. Honeymoon Avenue was great. Baby I was good. Piano. The Way with Mac Miller. Rest of Paradise, Mac Miller. Definitely gone way too soon. And many other good songs on Yours Truly. Definitely an amazing album. So, that's going to complete this first part of this two-part video. So, let me know some of y'all's favorite albums from the year 2013. So, I'll see y'all next time. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.